Hi everyone, I'm Modern Mulan or Julian, the growth lead of ICP Hub Philippines. Welcome to another episode of IC Stories Manila. Ayan, so we are at episode 35, you guys, and I think this is the first morning episode that we have. So it's a very special guest. So of course, we're gonna have exceptions para sa kanya. No? So hello sa mga team live natin, Azama Jeremiah, GM. It's nice to say GM and actual morning talaga, ano. Scout Martin, hello, Espeso, of course. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are on team live stream, hello, and we hope you enjoy this episode and you get a lot of value in it. So yeah, let's call in our co-founder, Sir Nelson Lumbres. Hi sir, how are you?
GM, good morning. Magandang umaga. Although madilim ako, hindi ko alam kung bakit. Um,
Umaga ba dyan,
yeah,
sir?
umaga naman. But yeah, very exciting to, no? Kasi
Mm.
meron na naman tayong guest, no, from the DFINITY Foundation. Maririnig natin yung kanya stories, no? Ito yung mga behind the scenes, no? Kung paano siya, kumbaga, napadpad, no, sa Web3, nagsimula sa ICP, at kung anong ginagawa niya right now. Exciting also, no? Gusto ko lang din i-mention na yung Panimula event bukas mangyayari.
Yes.
Yeah, together with government, no, sa Emilia House, Malacanang.
We're
Nakabarong
going
tayo.
to Malacanang, everyone! Super, super exciting. We're gonna do our best to cover the event para ma-feel ninyo na nandun din kayo at kasama nyo kami. No? So, ayan, it's going to be very exciting. Ang dami nang pumasok. Esther, ZICP, hello, RD, Elba, Yuki, Bigwin, thank you so much for being here. Kagaya ng sabi ni Sir Nelson, it's so exciting na napakarami ng dumadalaw sa atin from DFINITY Foundation. It goes to show na they really do value ngayon, especially Asia and for us Philippines. This means a lot, no? Kasi napakarami talagang opportunities na dumarating even in knowledge. So yun, wag natin pahabain pa, sir. I know
Yes.
everyone is hyped. Thank you for waking up very, very early for us to join us and prepare your questions because I think ready sa mga may hirap na questions etong guest natin. No? So sulitin natin yan. All right, everyone, please help me give a very, very warm welcome to Diego, R&D Special Projects of DFINITY Foundation. Hi, Diego. How are you?
Good.
Hi,
How you guys
Diego.
doing? Hello.
We're
So
good.
excited
Morning.
to have you here.
Good morning.
Yes, good
GM.
morning. Um, so Diego, help us get to know you a little bit better. Maybe share a little bit of your story, how you got into crypto and then into ICP.
Sure. Well, my name is Diego. I'm originally from Mexico. I've been living in California for quite a bit. I got into crypto by, I think I was roughly vaguely interested in Bitcoin when it came out, 2008, 2009. But I kind of
Mhm.
didn't really get into that much. I think I really got into crypto when Ethereum came out. And when Ethereum came out,
Mhm.
I realized the idea because I don't really understand something unless I can play with it. And a
Yeah.
Bitcoin is an abstraction. But with Ethereum, I was able to like write contracts, write code. So at least I could play
Mm.
with it. So I would say that's when I started really getting interested in it. And in 2018, that's when I joined the Divinity Foundation. At the time, it was maybe 8 people. Now it's a lot bigger than that.
Wow. Now
Very,
it's
very, very.
massive.
Now it's massive, um, and it was very, very tiny. And yeah, I was looking. This is gonna sound silly in 2024, but at the time, I was looking for a non-sketchy Web3 uh, project because they're all very
You know what?
sketchy.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Everybody is.
So
We're still doing
uh,
that now.
exactly, exactly. It was even
Yeah.
harder in 2018. I think now it's a lot
Oh, for
easier,
sure. Oh,
but
for
in 20,
sure.
in 2018 it was really hard. So I was like, okay, these guys are not sketchy. This is actually like a
Mhm.
legitimate computer science because I really was interested in the computer science. Um,
Yeah.
and I, quite frankly, I was just lucky they needed someone like me at the time. So I started working on growth and developer experience when I first joined.
Mhm.
We wanted to improve developer experience, and I've had many hats at Affinity. So I started as a growth manager, engineering manager, and then I became the engineering manager of the at some point the P2P team, the consensus team. Then I became director of product. Also created like a content team.
Mm.
Also hired a designer to start at that. And eventually, for the last year and a half, I've been a principal in the R&D special projects, where I've been
Mm.
on interesting projects within DFINITY, where I could just either code something myself or work with a few teams. I kind of get airdropped into interesting challenges. Most
Yeah.
recently, probably the most visible thing from the community point of view that I've done recently, because I also started and managed the ICP developer forum. That's one of the probably the most visible thing that
Yeah.
I'm part of. Started that probably my first few weeks at DFINITY, and but other than that, I was one of the folks that worked on integrating the LLM. So if you go internettcomputer.org, when you type in questions about
Yeah.
ICP, I worked with the team that helped integrate that. So I'm pretty proud of that, because I think that really helps people understand ICP in their own language, in their own words. Because I've written a lot of documentation, but an LLM really helps. Like, it has infinite patience, so people can ask,
Yeah.
like, "Can you explain to me again? Can you explain it to me again?" So that's an example of a special project that I've done recently that I can the wider community might be more aware of.
You wore
Yeah.
so many different hats, and to I'm trying to imagine you joining the team of having just 8 people. That's crazy
Mhm.
to me because it's so huge now. It's massive, and
Yeah.
to think that it's not only in Switzerland anymore. It's like it's everywhere. I mean, we have ICP Hub Philippines, we met Singapore, and things like that. So it has grown so much since you
Yes.
were onboarded. What's that like? How does that feel?
Pretty wild. Um,
Mm.
so I would say the first 50 to 100 people, I knew them all by first name, and where I had
Mm.
coffee with them. For a
Yeah.
while, every time there's somebody new, I would invite them to coffee.
Oh, that's
Even
cool.
even if we weren't in the same city, I would either reach out, or
Yeah.
when I visited the same city, we were in the same city, I would invite them to coffee. I probably did that for like 60, 70 people before it was just impossible. Maybe
I
100 people.
mean, you're gonna go broke if you do that now.
Right.
It's too crazy. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you gave us a little bit of a glimpse of what you do under R&D or under R&D special projects. But
Yeah.
can you elaborate more? What responsibilities do that entail exactly?
So by design, so I used to be a manager. So I managed teams, and I was director. So I managed teams of teams. Um,
Mm.
but as a principal, I usually get uh, put into projects that are just like, hey, we need something tomorrow, or here's a
Mm.
Yeah.
project that's not going well. So I kind of get airdropped into
Yeah.
things that are either difficult or kind of
The need
vague,
help. Yeah.
and they just need help, or they just kind of like we have a vague idea. Because sometimes the
Mm.
hardest part is the ambiguity. Sometimes the hardest part is not the technical or even the work. The hardest part is like, we kind of want to integrate with something or do this. We don't have an idea. So it's like, okay, let me go in there and try 100 things and see what works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
See
just
what
about,
sticks. Yeah.
yeah, dealing with the ambiguity. So my current responsibilities right now is I manage the forum, manage the wiki,
Yeah.
Mm.
um, and I use a lot of the products. I write a lot of ICP code, and I would say my main responsibility is just like, if I see something, fix it and help people.
Agree.
Mm.
I basically jump from project to project. Probably every few weeks, I have a whole new project.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
I think
sounds really difficult.
I also like I've been getting a lot of good feedback with regards to the forum, and it's really a way of communicating directly, of course, to the foundation. And I do have developers here in the Philippines who are within the forum, and they've requested sometimes for cycles because they're building and they
Right,
immediately
right.
get it, and there's a response, so that's a good thing there, and you cannot find that on other other blockchain or foundation, right?
I'm very proud of the developer forum, though
Yeah.
it's not without controversy. um, I, I'm, I
That comes with it.
Yeah.
I try really hard to make it a clean space
Mm.
where people are
Mhm.
reasonable. They could have difference of opinions, but I want them to not curse at each other or attack each other.
Yeah.
So I definitely I'm known to be very harsh for like ending conversations, removing threads, or telling people you can't curse each other. It doesn't matter whether I agree with you, disagree with you, but you have to do it in a way that's reasonable that you can
Yeah.
communicate with other
Respectful.
people. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which
Mhm.
in the internet is hard, and Web3 is even harder.
Yeah,
Oh,
So
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure, for sure. I mean, everyone in the space gets so aggressive. Sometimes
right,
it's just because people are passionate about it. But I feel like what you said, I mirror that. You can have proper discourse without, having to curse at each other and
right.
just have that
Uh,
safe environment. But
yeah.
I feel like what you've done has been very pivotal to developers. So congratulations on that, and it's still a win that we should be celebrating for sure.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
And the debate there is really, really deep. So I encourage everybody to, yeah, go to the forum. We'll place it at the link at the bottom, Julian. Yeah, well,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, so you guys can check it out after the stream or while you're listening in. So now,
Mhm.
Diego, as you know, we have a lot of Filipino viewers. We do have some from Bali, Indonesia. Someone said hi just now, so thank you so much for tuning in.
Terima kasih.
But yeah, so for our viewers, mostly who are just getting into blockchain and crypto, how would you explain in the easiest way possible what ICP is, what Internet Computer Protocol is?
It's always a question I get asked the most, and it's always the hardest
For
one.
sure.
Because a lot of it also depends on the level of depth what you want. Because
Agree.
you
Mm,
realize that even things we think we understand, like if I ask you to like, hey, what is the internet?
Yeah.
oh,
That's
that's
hard
hard.
itself. That's hard,
Man,
right?
that's hard.
That's very hard. So it depends on what level. The example I like to give is like it's like asking somebody like, what is a car? So there's three answers in my book. Two of them are wrong. One of them is right. So the three answers people like to give are: a car is four wheels plus a steering wheel plus an engine. It just kind of lists feature after feature after feature, and
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
still I still don't know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some people go super high level. They don't go low, but they go super high. It's like, oh, a car is like a unit in the $1 trillion economy. I'm like, I don't know what that means, right? But and then the mid answer is like a car is something you get into that drives you. Okay, that I can understand. There's like a
Yeah.
physical, experiential thing. You don't want to go high level. You want to go. So I don't want to describe ICP or blockchain as like it's part of the $1 trillion economy, or go into the weeds of like, well, this protocol connected to this protocol is like that's
Just
not
name the
really.
Exactly.
features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to name the feature. So the closest thing is to like just how someone experience it. So
Yeah.
um, the closest thing that someone would experience it, and I would say there's a few audiences. So if you're a developer, you would experience it by SCP is a protocol where you could deploy code. You could deploy code to the internet computer, and you could and you know that that code is, unless you want to, immutable, tamper-proof, and secure. Which, if you're a developer, is not something to be taken for granted. Um,
Yeah.
Mhm.
in for example, to make a comparison to AWS for a second, which is now blockchain, when you deploy AWS, you are relying on the company or the countries to not change your code or not stop your thing. Or the beauty of
Mhm.
blockchain is like it doesn't matter what companies or countries think, your code's gonna keep running. So
Yeah.
as a developer, you have the security, and second, you have the security that like um, because a lot of it's cryptographically sound, you know that like no one can mess with your stuff. You don't have to worry about a lot of there's a lot of attack factors of hacking that just do not have to worry about. So from the developer point of view, they get my code is a lot more secure, and not only is it secure from bad actors, it's also more reliable from the point of view of no company or country will take it down. That's how developer would
Yeah.
experience it. Um,
Mhm.
from the point of view of a user, what they would see is um, a lot of users don't experience the apps themselves. Like for example,
Hmm.
right now people don't know if we're talking on a platform that's running on Google or Microsoft or
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
we don't know. The
Yeah.
consumer doesn't know. You can run on ICP. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So most consumers don't even interact with that part of like the internet, let alone the internet computer. But a consumer might
Hmm.
interact with any kind of like DAOs. So one of the things that
Mhm.
make the internet computer special is that if you want to have an impact in, say, I don't know, Bitcoin, it's hard to think of a direct way that you can have an influence on the direction of Bitcoin. Any more that I can have a direct influence on the direction of the English language, both of which are decentralized protocols. Like the English language is like, if enough people believe this is a word, this is a word. To some degree, Bitcoin has that same thing. What SCP has is that it has a structured DAO that controls it. So people, as part of the SCP community, can vote and say, like, we want this feature, we don't want this feature, we want this piece of code running, not this piece of code running. So it gives it an ability for the consumer to take part and have ownership as to this public compute. So I think that is also something that like you or I have no influence into the direction of AWS or Microsoft Cloud or a lot of different things, but a regular consumer would have an influence as to like how they would want the internet computer by voting, how they would want it to go. So it's a protocol, but a protocol with a structured DAO that controls it. Those would be in the third way somebody might experience it. Besides, very fast. It's a really good web experience. It's as a node provider. As a node provider, what you would get is that when you join the network, when you buy your machine, you buy your node to become part of this platform, to do that platform, to do part of the internet computer, you have a network that gives you predictable remuneration. Because in regular times in crypto, like it's a lot of gambling, what node or what hardware you buy for what protocol. But with internet computer, you can have somewhat of a stability that if you buy hardware for the internet computer, the DAO accepts you, you'll have like a steady stream of ICP. So I don't want to talk too long without making any kind of like human connection. So I want to make sure that I'm addressing your questions.
That is
I
great.
think that's a really great approach to answering that question. Because like you said, when you asked me what the internet is, I was like, yeah, that is. I interact with it every day, too much, I think. But I still don't know how to answer it. So answering it in a way of how we experience it, whether you're a developer, a user, or again, the different ways that you might be able to interact with it. Such an interesting answer. And I feel like you were able to give a very clear picture of what it is. Now, we can't talk about ICP without mentioning some technical words or technical things, and that's a challenge with it, right? But I know you're an expert at this with the forum and all. So walk us through what CKBTC and CKE are, and why do you think these are game changers in the industry?
Interesting to think. Why are they game changers? That's a good question. Let's start with the first one. So CKBTC. So using the same principle of like, let's talk about experience.
Yeah. How does it impact me as a user, as a developer?
Yeah, so I as a user want to send Bitcoin to you, Julianne, or you want to send me
yes,
Bitcoin.
Please. Go ahead.
The way you would notice a few things. You would notice that it's really slow, and it's really expensive. It would take minutes, sometimes even tens of minutes, and it might cost you quite a bit of money. CKBTC takes seconds, and it's very, very cheap. That's what we would see. Now the question is that the same? Like, okay, sure, it's cheap, but I want Bitcoin. I don't want some random token. The difference is that CKBTC can be converted to BTC. Cryptographically, you can be secure that if you have a CKBTC, you can convert it to Bitcoin. So you no longer have to do super expensive and super slow. You can now do fast and super cheap, but it's not a random token. It is a twin that can be cryptographically, you can have security, can be converted to Bitcoin. It's kind of like if you have your Bitcoin over here, and then it's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and there's fancy ones, you can check in your coat and they give you a ticket. Like your code doesn't move around. Your code's there, but you can move the ticket. Different people can pass the ticket around really, really quickly. And then when you return the ticket, you get the code back. So you can be secure that no one's going to steal the code. But CKE is the same principle. faster, cheaper, much cheaper, with the cryptographical guarantee that if you have this little piece of paper, like you can have like the little stub for the code, you can convert it to the exact ETH that you had. That's the difference. The big difference is that there are things that this is not a new problem. A lot of the most valuable tokens are slow and expensive. So there's a lot of fast and cheap stuff. The innovation, because it's probably worth learning what the innovation is. The innovation is that through a bunch of cryptography, I'm not going to get into, you can have reliability that like, no one can steal it from you. That like, okay, if you have a CKBTC, you can convert it whenever you want to a BTC. It's not like, oh my god, I have a CKBTC, but I want a Bitcoin. You can
Yeah.
reliably through cryptography. A lot of other things in the past have done things like that, but they rely on companies or products or other kind of software. And sometimes the company goes bankrupt. You kind of get stuck holding a token that's meaningless, or maybe the software has a hack. This is the first one that has like some pretty cryptographically sound things. So it doesn't rely on a company; it just relies on the cryptography.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great answer, Diego. I just want to add as well, a lot of Filipino developers and projects are also excited with the ETH integration. Will it help existing Web3 projects that are built on ETH to migrate or build also an ICP?
Are you asking whether it makes sense to migrate the existing code people have in Ethereum to ICP, or to just kind of connect it? Is that what you're asking?
I think both.
I think the pattern that I expect to see is that people leave their existing Ethereum code in Ethereum,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just integrate
Yeah.
with ICP. So, for example, if you have a dApp that runs on Ethereum, when someone says they have a dApp that runs on Ethereum, it's usually like one or two or three smart contracts, and everything
Mm-hmm.
else is on like AWS or some other
Yeah.
platform.
Exactly.
I think what's going to happen is IC integration will just eat away at that first. Be like, okay, that stuff that was already off chain, ICP will just start
Yeah.
to eat. We'll just integrate with that first. I think that's the most likely pattern that we'll see, and we're starting to see more and more of that.
Yep, agree. Yep. I just want to add also, Diego. What do you think is the more relevant IC superpowers that developers in the Philippines need to know for them to build an ICP?
I think I don't know if it's the most. I think it might be the most relevant, but the one that I think is the most underrated, undervalued
Mm-hmm.
superpower of ICP is the fact that ICP can upgrade by a DAO, and that you as
Okay.
a smart contract developer. So, for example, let's go at kind of low level. The fact that ICP can upgrade, it means, and it's had I think at this point hundreds of upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds. Like, just to give you
Yeah.
context, in the traditional Web2 world, it's not uncommon to have something have like an upgrade every day or every week. That's not uncommon. But like, I mean, if they're a Bitcoin upgrade like every few months, maybe a few years, like it's really rare.
Yeah.
So to have a protocol just constantly upgrading in a decentralized fashion is like completely unique, which means that it can add features such as Ethereum integration, Bitcoin. It can add the features, and it's part of the protocol. You just keep adding them, and it just keeps
Yeah.
improving, getting
Agree.
more sound, getting tighter, getting faster, getting cheaper. For example, canisters can now hold 400 gigabytes of data.
Yeah, exactly.
When it first launched, it was like 4, like 3,
Yeah.
like so. Like, imagine
That's growth right there.
that's the ability to upgrade.
That's huge.
Right? Every
Yeah.
feature is because it was able to upgrade itself to keep improving.
Mm.
Developers have the same functionality out of the box. When they deploy a canister smart contract, they basically have 3 options. They could either deploy the canister so it's immutable, like an Ethereum smart contract, where nobody can remove it, nobody can touch it, nobody can change it. That's totally fine. They could deploy it as a contract that they can modify whenever they want themselves, just like regular
Mm-hmm.
code in the internet. Or they could deploy it in a way that's like, okay, I'm gonna have a DAO control my code. So you
Yeah.
now have a spectrum In Ethereum, you only get one choice. In AWS or other clouds, you only get one choice, which is anybody can control it, or it's always modifiable. ICP gives you all three. You have code that no one can modify,
Yeah.
code that anybody can that you can modify, or code that only a DAO can modify. I think for people in the Philippines, I think that might be the most interesting thing. Playing with that. The imagine you can deploy code that maybe only people in Manila can modify, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The vote to modify. So I think that's going to open up a possibility for more and more compute as a public good.
Yeah.
So many applications of that in itself, and I think that's a good answer. It truly is an underrated IC superpower.
Yeah.
It is.
Agree.
There,
Yeah.
there's so many to choose from, actually. So aside from this, can you give us maybe your rank two that you think is also very impactful in the space?
I think the second thing that I think is interesting is the fact that ICP smart contracts can send and receive HTTP requests, which is kind of a
Ah, yeah.
technical answer, but people underestimate that in blockchain development, most smart contracts, I would say, all really depends who you ask. I would say
Yeah.
all. They're unique in that they cannot talk to the outside world. They can't talk to the outside world. Smart ICP smart contracts can send requests in and out, just like as you would expect from any kind of software. That allows them to talk to, for example, if I have like it's regular in the common world. Let's say if you have the Uber app, the Uber app sends requests to this other app, the request to this other app, and they can talk to each other. Or Dropbox talks over here. ICP smart contracts can do the same. This ICP smart contract can talk to Dropbox and talk to Uber or talk to Google.
Yeah.
These kinds of things, which are kind of how the internet's built. In blockchain, you don't really have that. You don't have that ease of things being able to talk to each other. So I think that's the second thing that I always think about the most. Yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Is there?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Curious if you don't mind me asking. Let's get. It's halfway here. I feel like we've known each other for a lifetime. Let's get, why don't you give me the question that you're afraid to ask?
Yeah, well,
You
maybe
want the hard questions? Wait, let me pull out my
And I might
notes
say I have
really
no
quick.
idea, which is totally fine.
Where are the
I'm
hard
I might say I
questions?
have no idea, but
I am
it's
looking
not-
at the community questions, and they do have a lot of questions, and they're
Alright.
There are a
very
lot of
I'm
questions.
I'm
knowledgeable.
fine
I
with
have
going with the
been reading
community.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been
Fine saying I have
reading
no idea.
the
Yeah,
questions.
but before we go with the community questions,
Yeah.
I just want to ask about the roadmap of ICP and how it is achieving its milestones so far, and what is the latest on the Internet Computer Protocol in terms of community and the tech. What are we to expect in 2024?
Yeah, I would say the big themes are continuing with the work with SNS, with the system nervous
Yeah,
SNSs.
agree.
Which, there's a dozen plus, and I think we're going to see a lot more in 2024. Continue to work with the multi-chain stuff, Bitcoin, Ethereum multi-chain. Continue with the decentralization of the boundary nodes and stuff like that. And just give me one. And I think we're going to see more projects like Dom tweeted today about the project called Utopia, where private companies
Ah, yeah.
their own versions of IC. I think we're going to see projects like that, but I don't know what bucket or theme I would call them. But the other buckets are very clean: decentralization, multi-chain, um, and what's the first one I just said? SNSs. SNSs. Those are very clean themes. The rest I see, like I would say, and we're always, of course, improving the user and developer work, and improving the developers for the user. So that's also, I guess, a recurring theme, the no provider experience. But I would say those are the general themes I would expect for 2024.
Oh, nice.
They sound
Yeah,
very,
agree.
very exciting. And I feel like those are the things that you're allowed to say. I can see behind your eyes that you guys are planning a lot more. But I guess we'll just have to follow the official accounts of ICP and keep ourselves updated. Thank God we have them linked in the description box for everyone
Yeah.
below to check out. All right. I think that's you've answered very well our questions so far. Let's see how you fare with the community. Are you
Oof.
ready, Jago?
Oof.
No, but
Oof.
Uh,
the questions
I'm
are
open to
interesting
it.
because
Anybody
they're
can ask anything.
oh,
yes.
how about even your passwords? No, I'm kidding. So most of the
You ask me not
questions,
to answer anything. I don't have to answer anything.
There are questions about, your
Ah,
role and your responsibilities and things like that, but we'll get to that in a while. This one is an interesting one, I think. This one's from Espresso. What are the key technical or regulatory hurdles that Definity is navigating as it strives to advance the adoption of ICP and support a decentralized internet?
I think the key technical hurdle is, which is kind of one of the reasons I joined Infinity in the first place, which is 5.5 years later, is still part of the big mission, is to, if you ever use smart contracts, you understand the power of immutable code and the cleanliness and
yeah.
the cryptographic design. But there's Divinity is trying to unlock that power, so making them faster, cheaper, easier to use. But I would argue, just off the numbers, clearly that we're not there yet. Clearly, the
Mhm.
developer experience needs to improve. They need to be faster. They need to be cheaper. They need to be more ergonomic. They need to be
Mhm.
to so the hurdle is like the thousand little things it takes to unlock the power of a smart contract. Which
Yeah.
if I were to summarize Definity's goal, that you could argue just a one sentence. Um, and I think it's a thousand little things, but smart contracts are still not universally used as a compute source that people use, and I
Mhm.
think his goal is to make that be the number one thing people use.
Yeah, I think that is a
Yeah.
big hurdle that we're gonna have to navigate. But it's nice to see that there are plans actually implemented. So talking to you and Kyle last week, it's nice to see that you guys have a quick answer to this. I think that shows that you know the problems are and how to target those specific problems. So yeah, thank you so much, Espresso, for sending that in. And we have a few more. This one
And
is from Esther ZICP asking, how do you envision the future of ICP and the role of decentralized tech evolving in the coming years?
I mean, the honest answer is that I have no idea, but that's the honest answer. That's
No.
the honest answer. But but uh,
Mm.
but uh, but I think the question, the intent is to draw like, what do I both want and also think is likely to happen. So
Yeah.
I want more and more people unlocking the power of smart contracts by using ICP to deploy to
Mhm.
use the blockchain. So I'm always thinking more of the developer and the consumer. Um, and I think realistically, we're going to see more and more of that. Again, since I've been in crypto for 6 years plus more at this point, like I
Mhm.
would say it's both a steady, it's a small numbers, but like a steady growth. Like every year, I see more and more adoption, even with all the craziness of the crypto world. Every year, I see a little bit more and a little bit more, a little bit more, and I think it's growing and growing. So I'm, 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 I'm very optimistic about the growth of like people, um, of the combination of both adoption and the protocols getting good enough to be adopted.
mhm.
I mean, let's be honest. Using any kind of smart contract development like 6 years ago was very, very painful.
Mhm.
Very, very painful. It's getting
Yes.
easier and easier. So I'm not surprised that there wasn't much adoption. As things get easier, I think we'll see more adoption.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
We talk a lot about that on our episodes. Where if we want to see mass adoption, it should be something. It should be a seamless integration of it. Like people would eventually not know that they're interacting with ICP or Web3 or anything crypto things like that. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Now in terms of ICP's role in the um, on how the decentralized tech is going to evolve. How do you see that? What is ICP's place in that?
I think ICP's place, the most obvious place, is where it's strongest, which is replacing enterprise or companies or individuals' Web2 stack. So
Yeah.
I think a
Mhm.
lot of times
I
that
agree.
question about like, do I replace ICP with my Ethereum contract with ICP? I think that's not the most likely thing. I think it's be more like, oh, do I replace this cluster on Azure with this canister on ICP that maybe is controlled by DAO? So I think we're going to see more of that where people replace their Web2 stuff and slowly make their move or migrate to a more secure compute.
Mhm.
Yeah. Agree. Agree. I do have one question, Julian, from Joe Stark, 11:28 a.m. I'm not
Mhm.
sure, Diego, if you're the right person for this, but the question is, do you have a plan to attract new users from outside of the ICP ecosystem? I care about that because the projects are growing too much and ICP users are still standing. They are stuck a lot of NFT. Anyway, I'm not. Yeah, it's. I think it's more of about growth. Maybe your
I'm not
inputs.
sure I follow the question. Can you help me understand it a little
Yeah,
more?
Yeah,
I'm trying to look for it. I
yeah.
think it's this
There,
one.
this
Okay.
one.
Is
Yeah.
it this one? Do you have a plan to attract new users from outside the ICP ecosystem? I care about that because the projects are growing too much and ICP users are still standing still. Are standing still.
Yeah.
Um they
I,
are suck a lot of NFT.
yeah. I think it's more of growth. Is asking,
I
interested in.
think the foundation can do a lot of advocacy to speak and talk about what ICP is and just
Mhm.
have great awareness. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to come from entrepreneurs and people building things that, and they know their audiences.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to come down to making it easy for those entrepreneurs to do what they need to do and empowering people. I think that's going to come. I think there's always going to be definitely doing stuff for creating awareness and growth
Mhm.
plans stuff like that. But I think the kernel of it, the intellectually honest answer to that question is it really comes down to entrepreneurs building cool stuff people care about. I think that's
Mhm.
can't
Agree.
forget that. That's the number one thing.
Agree.
And a
Yeah.
And
lot of things I mentioned were because of that. So why can't I just have 400 gigs? Because that helps entrepreneurs. Why
yeah.
are
Mhm.
the things faster? Because that helps entrepreneurs. So these if you help entrepreneurs and you help users, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, agree. And I just
Oh,
want
that
to add
makes
that,
perfect sense.
yeah, we have our global adoption hubs right now, like us in the Philippines. We have that responsibility also to um, to find those new builders, our future builders who will be building an ICP, and that will definitely help on growth and awareness of the ICP.
Oh yeah, for
Well,
sure. That's
yep.
the impact of that cannot be minimized. Sorry, Jago, you were saying something?
No, no, please.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
So here's another question. I'm not sure about your involvement of the research on this, but maybe as one of the member of the core team, maybe you can share a bit of a background on this. Can you provide more insights into the research and development process that led to the creation of chain key cryptography? What were the major challenges, and how were they able to overcome those?
Hmm, that's a good question. Let me think for a second. I have one thing. I want to make sure that it's correct.
This is very deep. We're talking about the creation.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
I mean, this could be a
chain key
separate episode in
cryptography
itself.
is multiple protocols. Um, so I would say that I was not. This is definitely like a cryptographer thing, which I'm not a
Mhm.
Mhm.
cryptographer. Um, um, I think if you want to go technical, I believe the DKG, the key generation, and the was a big part of it. Like the ability to create so one of the challenges was creating a single key that could be created from different nodes all sharing pieces of a key, like shards of a key. But the way you
Mhm.
distribute the pieces of the key and the way you have to reshuffle them or redistribute every time to do something, I believe that was actually quite difficult. I believe
Mhm.
the key generation, the distributing of these pieces of the key to come together, I actually believe that was a very difficult thing to get right in a cryptographically sound way. Could be wrong
Yeah.
about that, but I believe that's actually one of the biggest challenges.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That
Agree.
does sound challenging, and it's such a huge feat, and just the fact that they were able to think about that, chain key cryptography and create it is just my brain can't handle it. It's too
A lot
much
of the
for me.
pieces for chain cryptography were known academic subjects, and the
Mm.
math
Yeah.
existed, but the actual implementation, making that work is tricky, very, very tricky.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you
Yeah.
for that, strange man. I didn't even think about the process of getting there. So thank you for adding this to the discourse. Now here's another one from Esther's the ICP. So as a major contributor to the Internet Computer, what are the most exciting and impactful research and development projects your team is currently working on?
Um, I'm really interested in the Utopia stuff that Don tweeted about,
Mhm.
making
Oh yeah, yeah.
private versions of ICP that people can deploy on their own infrastructure. I think that's kind of I'm really interested in that. So I think it's going to be exciting. I think we'll learn more and more about that over the next few weeks. I think Don will start to talk
Mhm.
about it more, but I think it's something that's very exciting, very impactful.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, so we have to keep our eyes out for that one.
Yeah, I
Very
guess so.
interesting. Um, what about it? Like, can you expand a little bit more? What about it are you excited about? Like, why are you excited about it?
Well, I think it helps make it easier for enterprise and large organizations to get their hands wet, get their hands dirty, I guess. Get their feet wet, their hands
Mhm.
dirty. That's the phrase. With working with ICP smart contracts.
Mhm.
Um, and I
Yeah.
think that it also does create opportunities for ICP entrepreneurs to help those enterprises, to help these
Mhm.
countries and governments and
Yeah.
enterprises. So I think it both creates a place for large organizations to get really test out the ICP in a way that they feel
Mhm.
comfortable with, and also creates
Yeah.
opportunities for ICP developers to work with them. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I would
Just
say.
gives you a broader field where you can experiment on.
Right.
That's a really good answer. Yeah, actually, we've already answered 5 questions. Sir Nelson, can we
Yeah,
pick
we can get
maybe
one more.
one
I
or
think we have a lot of questions and a lot of interesting ones, to be honest. And they're
yes?
very knowledgeable, actually. Yeah, go
Would
ahead.
you
So,
The question I have here is more of a general one. Would you like to pick a more technical question, Sir Nelson? It's so hard
okay.
to just go
Uh,
through everything while listening. So it's crazy. The comment section, we're getting so many questions.
I think I've found. Hold on, I can't find it again. Uh, there's a specific question I think regarding SEOs, search engine optimization. Anyway, I cannot find it. I think the question was there was another question also with one of our builders here in the Philippines. The question was about SEOs in terms of yeah, looking up the DApps
Yeah,
on the
this is
internet.
still
Yeah,
an
yeah.
ongoing thing. So
Okay,
there's been progress done to make the dApps make them easier to find, but this is still something that has improved significantly already, but it's going to continue to
okay.
improve. There's both engineering and R&D. I saw somebody ask in the questions multiple times about Motoko, and that's actually something that I care a lot about. So I thought I'd answer that one. Somebody
Okay, go
asked,
ahead, sir. Mhm.
how does Motoko? I don't know if you want to put the question for the other folks. How does
What's the name
Motoko
of the
Echo
person who sent?
Infinity 21? I see the same
Okay,
question
okay.
like 6 times.
I'll look for it.
Oh, Echo Infinity,
Yes.
Echofinity
Oh,
21,
I think he's
11:30.
also the other one who asked the same, the
Oh, yes.
SEO
That's
thing.
true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what's
Okay,
his
okay.
other question? This one, right?
11:30.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I care a lot about this. So
Okay, okay.
the best, it's the best way to answer that question is if you Google, there's an article on the Stack Overflow blog, not the 50 million, but the Stack Overflow blog by Andreas Rosberg, the author of Motoko, the father of Motoko. He wrote
Mm-hmm.
exactly why Motoko was written, the intent, the design intent. And
Mm-hmm.
there are a few design intents that are worth noting. One is that it was a sound language, meaning that one that didn't really have any holes you could fall through. You did that if you when you're writing codes for smart contracts, you want to know that like you're kind of getting exactly what you think you're getting, and you're not going to get any gotchas or tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's some languages where you can create unexpected consequences. The whole point of Mutoko that you don't get any unexpected consequence because tokens matter, right? You don't want any surprises. Um, what they were supposed to be ergonomic. They were supposed to look and familiar, have a good developer experience. So
Yeah.
to answer this particular question, what unique capabilities are provided by the Internet Computer Blockchain? There's a lot of things that Motoko does under the hood that. So, for example, I think the most obvious one is that in comparison to say Rust, which is another language popular in a computer, um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot. There's a lot of calls in the Motoko language where you could just talk to the IC management cast, basically talk to the API or the IC directly with like
Mm-hmm.
quick one lines. The equivalent of Rust is a little awkward. So there's a lot of things where Motoko is so custom made that it could just do a lot of things under the hood where you could just kind of like get what you
Yeah.
want, such as even get the time or even have random numbers. It's a lot easier in Motoko than in Rust. For some things, I would argue Rust is easier, but
Yeah.
uh, there are many things where Motoko just kind of really goes deep into integrating with in the interface spec of the IC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a split actually. I also get on ground here in the Philippines. Some of the developers, yeah, are really keen. They really like Motoko, and others are more on TypeScript or Rust.
Yeah,
It
makes
really
sense.
depends on the developer as well.
Hey, big
Yeah,
world,
it's a
different languages.
preference thing too as well, and I think it's also it also depends on the person on how they
Right,
which fits them better. So yeah,
right.
thank you so much for sending that, Echofinity 21. Diego, before we go, are there any answers or questions that you would like to answer, or are you all good
I think we're all
with
good.
the
I think we had
community
a good
questions?
conversation.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I do. I do have one. I think Diego, what is your message for Filipino developers, investors, or enthusiasts? Yeah. How would you encourage them to build on ICP?
I think the best way to start, right, encourage is just go to the internetcomputer.org
Mm-hmm.
and then I would talk to ask the AI, the LM, how do I deploy a smart contract? And then just keep asking follow-up questions
Yeah,
to get there. Be like, okay, like if they'll say like, oh, do this. Okay, well, how do I do that? And just keep asking questions recursively to the LM
I
till you just
agree.
Mm-hmm.
deploy your first smart contract. Now there is a tutorial which multiple tutorials for deploying first smart contract, but like start with LM and ask it like, how do I deploy from scratch? And they'll tell you download this thing and download the other thing, and just ask it one at a time.
I agree. Yeah, that
That
is
is so
correct.
helpful. That is so
Yeah,
helpful,
but
especially for beginners, just to have that kind of
yeah,
space for you to ask that,
Yeah,
and to, again, like you mentioned earlier, you just need a lot of patience in, number one, asking the questions and being given the answers to, when learning something new, I guess, in general or specifically for ICP. Diego, I learned so much from you today, and I think you have such a gift on explaining the experience side of it, making it
yeah.
more, connecting it more to me and making me,
Great
how do
insights,
I say
Diego.
this?
Yep.
Yeah, making me care about this new feature of it. So thank you so much. I feel like I
it
saw
was very kind of you.
ICP in a different light because of you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Hopefully we
Totally
have you
different
back
insight. Yeah.
here and get you to answer more of our community's questions. And for
It was
sure,
good.
like Sir Nelson always says this about being in the space we're in. A month feels like a year because there's just so much
Yeah,
development.
Kyle
Like a
says that.
day,
Yeah,
right? A day feels
Yeah.
very slow when you are building, but when you're
I was 12 when I
when you
started.
step back, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You're mature now.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
for sure, maybe at the end of the year, you have a lot more insights to share with us, a lot more stories, a lot more developments. So we
Yeah.
would love to have you back here and hear more about what you're working on in the future. So, but for now, thank you so much for making the time for our Filipino community. We appreciate it, and we hope you have a great day. Thanks so
Thank you very
much,
much,
Jago.
Well,
Diego.
thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Sir Nelson, what did you think of the interview?
Yeah, great. Nagustuhan ko na bago yung mga insights, no? So fresh yung perspective, fresh yung look of things. That
Mm.
yeah, makes you think as well. And that comes from a person na talagang na been working on the backgrounds of the
OG.
development of
I mean,
ICP, no?
8
So
daw
that
sila nung
is
nag-start.
yes, that is big
Wow, it's
actually. Yeah, that is
crazy.
great. So
Mm.
yeah, tama nag-start siya 12 years old. Tama ngayon siya. Hindi, joke lang.
Tumanda siya ng mabilis, no? Ganun,
Oo,
ganun
yeah.
ka-stressful. And
Yeah.
I'm really trying to wrap my head around yung responsibilities niya. And I just can't kasi ang
Yeah.
daming, alam mo yun, there are so many problems and
Mhm.
his specialty basically, like he said, is just identifying kung saan muddy, kung saan may difficulties and just finding solutions for that. Ang galing.
Yes.
Ayan, si Spitfire, ayan, sabi niya, replay daw siya kasi medyo codal daw yung mga
Replay.
terms. We're trying our best to have it in such a way na intermediate or beginner makakaintindi. But ICP is so
Yep.
technical. So thank you so much for joining us. Kahit mga ganito yung usapan at mga kwentuhan natin, no? And I think kagaya na nabanggit ko, I really meant it when I said na they have such a gift in explaining ICP in a way na would make sense to me as a user
Yep.
and as an enthusiast, no? So ang galing nila. I think yung mga developers din natin dito hopefully they were able to get a lot of good insights from it.
Yep.
Thanks everyone. Naku, alive and kicking pala kayo pag umaga. Mukhang mapapaumaga tayo
Oo nga,
palagi
di
para
ba?
sa inyo.
Nakakatuwa, no? 11
Yeah,
a.m. they're on board.
sobrang daming questions and we appreciate it. Maraming salamat po. So let us run through really quick yung mga nag-send in ng questions, mga napili natin. So you can get your rewards
Yeah.
sa ating Twitter maya-maya or X. Ayan. Thank you so much, Espeso, Esther ZICP. We also have Joe Stark XC, Echo Infinity. Maraming salamat. Itong si Echo, nakadalawa pa siyang questions. No? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Si Esther din pala, nakadalawa. So,
Oh, nakadalawa din. Yeah.
thank you.
So
We
you get
appreciate you.
times 2 the prize.
Wow, ayan. Sir Nelson, let them know how they can claim their rewards.
Yep. Yeah, as usual, DM sa Twitter. Then we'll reply to you. Send us your wallet address.
Yes. So, ayan. Kagaya ng mga nababanggit namin, guys, napakarami. We have so much in store for you. January, medyo nag-stretching tayo, warm up muna. But February, we are going to be hustling and bustling. I think we're starting out, can we announce na, sir, on Feb 2?
Yep.
Yes, so on Feb 2, we are going to be at, drumroll, Laguna State University. Ayan. So we're gonna be there.
Yes.
We're going to try to cover that. And I think for January, our event is tomorrow. Yun nga yung sa Malacanang. ICP Hub Philippines is going to Malacanang. Everyone, we're going to be, hopefully, we get to partner up with government, no? That's gonna be big. The support of the government
Yes.
is big and hindi natin pwedeng i-deny na napakalakas ng impact nila, no? So to have those conversations with influential people is going to be game changing, not only for ICP Hub Philippines but also for the landscape of Web3 here. So we are proud na we're going to be representing our community there. So ayun, like I said, we're gonna try our best to cover as much as we can para sa inyo. If you guys have questions na gusto nyo itanong namin sa mga taong dadalawin namin doon, kakausapin namin, please let us know, no? So we can ask
Yeah.
them for you on your behalf. Alam nyo naman, malakas kayo sa amin, no? So aside from that, sir, do you have any other things that you want to share with our community?
Yeah, on Feb we'll also have a mini hackathon sa Ateneo de Manila University. And we're targeting to be in Baguio, no, somewhere in Feb as well. I think we're gonna collaborate with major universities, top universities done. And I think a lot more. So expect us on ground here in the Philippines.
We are trying to be everywhere for sure. So maraming salamat to your continued support po, and we hope to meet you sa mga ano natin, sa mga regional events. Hopefully makapag ano din, so we're also planning na magkaroon ng events here na ICP talagang nag-start.
Yep.
So ayan, mga meetups natin. So stay tuned you guys. Again, nakalink po sa description box lahat ng socials natin. Again, we hope to meet you there. Thank you so much everyone for listening in on episode 35. Thank you and have a great day everyone. Pati
Thank
mga
you very
team
much,
lead dyan.
everybody.
Hello and thank you very much. Have a good day everyone. Bye Sir Nelson. Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.